Most people believe that whoever has the best argument wins an argument, but that's a comfortable illusion. In the real world, the winner is the one who maintains control, even when wrong. And that's unsettling, because it shatters the beautiful idea that logic always triumphs over emotion. Niccolo Machiavelli already made it clear, almost cruelly, that politics guided by reality, not ideals, demands that you play the game as it really is, not as you would like it to be. While some try to prove they are right, others simply dominate the environment. And that's where everything changes, because when you learn to remain calm, to control your posture, your voice, and especially your reactions, you no longer need to convince anyone. The other person begins to fall apart on their own. Does that sound like an exaggeration? Then think about how many times you've lost an argument even when you were right, just because you got worked up. The end justifies the means, and in this game, the most powerful means is not the argument, it's self-control. Better to be feared than loved here doesn't mean intimidation, but being impossible to destabilize. Because those who don't falter become unpredictable, and those who are unpredictable control the pace. Throughout this video, you'll understand how to transform calmness into strategy, silence into pressure, and emotional control into an invisible weapon. And when you realize it, you won't be trying to win arguments anymore. You'll be playing at a level few can even reach. If something inside you awakened while listening, don't ignore that feeling. This channel isn't about videos, it's about memories. Remember who you were before the fear, before the exhaustion, before the silence. Each new video here is a different reflection of your own soul, an invitation to understand what the world never taught you. The power you seek outside has always been within you. If you feel that this journey speaks to what lives silently within you, sign up now, not to follow yet another creator, but to reconnect with something the world tried to make you forget. Because here, every word was made to heal, each reflection to awaken, and each video serves as a reminder. You are not alone on the path back to yourself. Click on subscribe and turn the algorithm into a daily reminder of who you really are. He has already realized, albeit too late in some situations, that it's not the most logical argument that wins a confrontation, it's control. In the heat of an argument, when voices rise, bodies tense, and emotions take over, something invisible happens. He loses authority, and this is independent of whether he's right. As Niccolo Machiavelli would say, politics guided by reality, not by ideals, demands composure, because in the real world, people judge not only what you say, but mainly how you behave. When someone explodes, they convey weakness. When they remain calm, they convey power. It's almost unfair, but that's how it works. Imagine a work meeting where two colleagues disagree. One gets agitated, gestures wildly, interrupts. The other listens, responds firmly, and maintains a stable tone. In the end, who seems more trustworthy? Who would you follow? This is where one of the harshest principles comes in. Better to be feared than loved, but never seen as out of control. Because whoever doesn't control themselves controls nothing. Even if he's right, the other person's perception has already been tainted. The end justifies the means, yes, but losing control is never a smart way. And without realizing it, he begins to notice that it's not about winning arguments, but about mastering the invisible game behind them. And here's a detail that few people notice. Social judgment happens in milliseconds. Before someone even processes your argument, they've already decided if you seem trustworthy, unstable, or dangerous. This is real human nature, not just pretty theory. Decisions based on real human nature require a deep understanding of this. When someone loses control, it triggers a defensive instinct in the other person, as if they were facing an emotional threat. Now, when someone maintains a firm posture, it creates the opposite effect: stability, And stability attracts respect. It's as if they're saying, without words, I know exactly what I'm doing. This is the calculated use of force, not brute force, but silent emotional force. A practical example: the next time someone provokes you, instead of responding immediately, pause for 2 seconds. Breathe, look them in the eye, respond more slowly than usual. That alone completely changes the dynamic. It seems simple, but it's rare. And what is rare has value. Virtù and fortuna come into play here. Skill plus opportunity. When you master emotional control, any confrontation becomes an opportunity to position yourself. And without realizing it, he begins to understand that true power lies not in speaking louder, but in remaining unwavering while the other loses their balance. Now, the most interesting thing is that this control doesn't arise in the moment of confrontation. It's built beforehand. Those who try to improvise calm under pressure usually fail, because emotions aren't negotiated in the moment, they're trained. It's like an army. Loyal and dedicated armies aren't formed on the battlefield, but long before. The same applies to emotions. Small daily practices build this inner strength. For example, learning not to react immediately to provocative messages, avoiding arguments when tired or hungry, practicing silence in difficult conversations. All of this shapes a solid internal structure. Constant adaptability also comes into play, knowing when to speak, when to retreat, when to ignore. And here's a point that few people see. Those who control their emotions begin to control their environment. People feel this, even without being able to explain it, and they start acting differently around them. It's as if, little by little, they cease to be just another person in the conversation and begin to become a silent reference point. But there's something even more powerful than momentary control. Something that transforms this into a personal brand impossible to ignore. He may not realize it immediately, but people don't trust those who get it right once. They trust those who remain steadfast, repeatedly. Consistency is a silent language that communicates more than any well-crafted speech. In a world where many know what to say, few can maintain what they say under pressure. And that's exactly where credibility is born. Not in preparation, but in the repetition of posture. Niccolo Machiavelli already implied that the appearance of virtue needs to be maintained over time, not just displayed at strategic moments. Because a single emotional failure in public can destroy the image of control built up over weeks. Politics guided by reality, not by ideals, demands behavioral consistency. It's no use speaking elegantly today and losing your temper tomorrow. People don't analyze isolated episodes, they form patterns, and patterns generate reputation. Imagine someone who always remains calm in difficult meetings, even when pressured. Little by little, they come to be seen as a point of equilibrium. Not because they said they are trustworthy, but because they demonstrated it repeatedly. And in this game, the end justifies the means. It's not just what you think that matters, but what you stand by. Because deep down, nobody trusts someone who is only strong when everything is easy. And here's the point that separates amateurs from strategists. Consistency isn't intensity, it's controlled repetition. Many try to appear firm in critical moments, but in their daily lives they are unstable, reactive, unpredictable. This breaks down any construction of authority. Decisions based on real human nature show that the human brain seeks predictability. It trusts what it can anticipate. When someone is consistent, they convey security. When they are volatile, they convey risk. And nobody follows risk in high-pressure environments. It's better to be feared than loved, yes. But before that, one needs to be predictable in their posture. A simple example, someone who always responds calmly, even to mild provocations, creates a pattern. Now imagine that same pattern being maintained in more intense situations. This generates automatic respect. Calculated use of force isn't about reacting intensely, but about choosing when not to react. And that requires discipline, because the ego wants to respond, wants to prove itself, wants to win immediately. But those who think strategically understand that each reaction builds or destroys their image in the long term. Virtue and fortune reappear, the ability to maintain the standard plus the opportunity to be observed. And in this process, he begins to realize that it is not the isolated confrontation that defines his strength. It is the invisible constancy behind them all. Now, the most interesting thing is that this consistency begins to shape not only how others see you, but how you see yourself. Repeating a firm stance creates identity, and identity eliminates doubt. When someone knows they are consistent, they don't need to strive to appear strong. They simply are. Your own loyal armies, once again, are built on disciplined repetition. Small daily actions, such as maintaining a steady tone of voice, avoiding impulsive responses, maintaining eye contact in difficult conversations, all of this forms a solid foundation. Constant adaptability comes in as fine-tuning. It's not about being rigid, but about being stable even when the context changes. And here, a powerful effect emerges. People begin to anticipate your stance. They already expect you not to waver. And this completely changes the dynamic even before the confrontation happens. It's like entering a game where the opponent already knows you won't lose control. They think twice before attacking. And at that moment, without needing to say anything, he begins to occupy a different space, a space that doesn't come from arguments, but from something that prepares the ground for something even deeper, the mastery of one's own body as a tool of power. He begins to realize something that most people completely ignore. The body speaks before the mind can organize any argument. Even before opening his mouth, his posture has already decided how he will be interpreted. Drooping shoulders, short breaths, a distracted gaze, all of this screams insecurity, even if he is right. And in the real game, as Niccolo Machiavelli taught, the appearance of virtue is often worth as much as virtue itself. Politics guided by reality, not by ideals, demands mastery of the physical as an extension of the psychological. Because the body not only communicates with others, it communicates with the brain itself. When he positions himself firmly, erect, with controlled breathing, something changes internally. The brain interprets that as security, and this feeds back into the behavior. It's not theater, it's strategy. Better to be feared than loved involves, first and foremost, appearing unshakable. A simple example, someone enters a discussion already breathing rapidly and speaking quickly. They've lost. Now someone who pauses, breathes deeply through their nose, exhales slowly, and speaks with cadence, dominates the environment. The end justifies the means, and controlling the body is one of the most neglected, yet most powerful means that exist. And here's a technical point that completely changes the game. Breathing is a direct command over the nervous system. When it slows down breathing, it automatically reduces emotional activation. This isn't motivational, it's biological. Decisions based on real human nature show that the body precedes emotion. So, instead of trying to think better, it learns to breathe better. Inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 2, exhale for 6. Repeat a few times before responding. This creates mental space. Calculated use of force here isn't about reacting intensely, but about controlling the physiological basis of the reaction. Another point, tone of voice. Those who speak more slowly convey dominance. Those who speak too quickly convey emotional urgency. And urgency is weakness in confrontation. Virtù and fortuna appear again, the ability to control the body, plus the opportunity to demonstrate this under pressure. And small adjustments make an absurd difference. keeping the chin slightly raised, a fixed but relaxed gaze, avoiding abrupt movements. All of this signals calmness. And the most curious thing? Even if he doesn't feel 100% calm at first, his body will teach his mind to follow suit. It's like training an invisible muscle that few people even know exists. Now, when he combines posture, breathing, and voice, something powerful happens. He begins to occupy space, not just in a physical sense, but a psychological one. People feel his presence, and presence isn't explained, it's perceived. His own loyal armies, once again, don't spring from nowhere. They are built with discipline. The body is this silent army that, when trained, acts automatically under pressure. Constant adaptability comes in here as refinement, adjusting posture depending on the environment, controlling gestures in different contexts, modulating the voice according to the situation. And this creates an invisible but brutal advantage. Because while the other person is trying to argue better, he has already won fundamentally, and without needing to raise his voice, without needing to interrupt, without needing to prove too much, he leads. And at this point, he begins to perceive something uncomfortable, but liberating. Perhaps the problem was never what he was saying, but how emotionally involved he was with it. And that's where an even deeper turning point emerges, something that completely redefines how he faces criticism, attacks, and provocations. At some point, he begins to notice a disturbing pattern. Every time he feels personally attacked, his clarity disappears. No matter how prepared he is, if he takes criticism personally, he automatically enters the other person's emotional game. And in that game, he loses. Because whoever reacts emotionally reacts on the opponent's field. Niccolo Machiavelli already pointed out, albeit indirectly, that decisions based on real human nature require psychological detachment. It's not about ignoring everything, but about choosing what deserves a response. Politics guided by reality, not by ideals, shows that not every provocation is a real attack. Many are tests of control, of posture, of limits. And when he reacts to everything, he reveals predictability. And emotional predictability is weakness. The end justifies the means, and responding isn't always the best way. Sometimes silence is more disconcerting than any argument. Imagine someone trying to provoke you, expecting a reaction, and you simply don't deliver. This breaks the rhythm, disarms the other person. Better to be feared than loved in this context means not being easily accessed emotionally, because whoever accesses their emotions controls their actions. And he begins to understand that it's not about winning every confrontation, but about choosing which ones truly matter. And here's where a mindset shift that few people make comes in, separating the self from the argument. No. When someone criticizes an idea, they aren't necessarily attacking your identity, but the ego loves to interpret it that way. And that's where everything goes wrong. Calculated use of force in this case is responding to the content, not the emotion. It's as if they were saying internally, "This isn't about me. It's about what's being said." This small adjustment completely changes the way you react. A practical example. Someone says, "What you said doesn't make sense." The common reaction, immediate defense, excessive explanation. Attempt to prove one's worth. The strategic reaction, pause. What exactly didn't make sense to you? Simple, direct, without emotional charge. This shifts control of the conversation. Virtù and fortuna appear again. The ability to maintain detachment plus the opportunity to demonstrate this live. And this type of posture generates something rare, silent respect, because few people manage not to get emotionally involved. The appearance of virtue here is to seem imperturbable, even when inside there is still some discomfort. And over time, this appearance becomes being. Because the brain learns through repetition, and what once required effort becomes the norm. Now, the most powerful aspect of detachment is that it opens up space for clarity. When he's not busy defending his own ego, he can see the situation more clearly. He can identify if the other person is being logical, emotional, manipulative, or just lost. And that completely changes the strategy. His own loyal armies, once again, represent that solid internal base that doesn't waver with every attack. Constant adaptability comes in as applied emotional intelligence, knowing when to ignore, when to respond, when to end. Because not every confrontation needs an explicit victory. Sometimes the greatest victory is not engaging in the game. And this creates an absurd advantage. He begins to choose his battles with precision, and whoever chooses well where to fight rarely loses. Little by little, people realize they can't easily throw him off balance. And this generates something curious. Fewer attacks, more respect. Because attacking someone who doesn't react as expected loses its appeal. And at this point, he begins to realize that calmness isn't just defense. It's an active tool of power. A silent lever that, when used correctly, completely changes the balance of any environment. In chaotic environments, where everyone talks at once, where pressure rises and decisions need to be quick, something curious happens. Those who remain calm naturally take control, not because they were chosen, but because the environment demands a point of stability. And it is precisely there that calmness ceases to be merely a virtue and becomes a lever of power. Niccolò Machiavelli already showed that the calculated use of force is not always about acting with intensity, but about knowing when not to act. Politics guided by reality, not by ideals, reveals that, in chaos, people seek direction and follow those who seem least affected by it. Imagine a situation of conflict within a team, tight deadlines, external pressure. Everyone reacts, complains, speeds up. But there is someone who speaks little, observes more, organizes ideas, and proposes solutions clearly, without raising their voice, without getting worked up. Who becomes a reference point in this moment? It's not the most intelligent, it's the most stable. Better to be feared than loved here takes on a new meaning, being respected for the ability to remain unshaken, because those who remain steadfast when everything shakes are seen as a safe haven, and that's not something you ask for. It's something you earn quietly. Now, the point that few understand is that calmness is not passivity. It's active control. There's a stark difference between someone who is calm because they don't know what to do and someone who is calm because they know exactly what they're doing. Decisions based on real human nature show that the human brain associates calmness with dominance. When someone remains serene under pressure, it activates a feeling of confidence in others. It's almost automatic. Virtù and fortuna come into play again. The ability to remain calm, plus the opportunity to be observed in critical moments. And this creates an invisible but extremely powerful advantage. A practical example. In a heated discussion, instead of competing for attention, he slows down, he waits. He lets the other person express themselves completely. And only then does he respond, with few words, but with precision. This not only reorganizes the conversation, but also repositions him as the leader of that moment. The end justifies the means, and remaining calm, even when the environment demands reaction, is one of the most strategic means that exist. Because while everyone else is reacting, he is leading. And when this posture is repeated, something even more interesting happens. He begins to influence the emotional state of the environment. Calmness is contagious, just like chaos. His own loyal armies, once again, represent this internal dominance that doesn't depend on external factors to maintain itself. Constant adaptability comes in as refinement, knowing when to use silence, when to speak, when to intervene. because calmness is not the absence of action. It's a conscious choice to act. And this choice creates authority. Little by little, people begin to look to him in moments of tension, expecting direction. Even without a formal position, he assumes leadership. Because real leadership doesn't come from titles, it comes from behavior under pressure. The appearance of virtue here transforms into a perceived identity, someone reliable, stable, strategic. And that changes everything. Because when people already expect you to bring clarity to the chaos, you don't need to prove anything anymore. And at that point, he begins to understand that it's not just about isolated moments, but about something bigger, something that is built over time, something that transforms this calmness into such a solid reputation that it begins to act even before any confrontation occurs. He begins to realize that there's a level beyond emotional control, posture, and even calmness under pressure. That's when all of that ceases to be effort and becomes identity. It's no longer something he tries to do, it's something he simply is. And it's at this point that an unshakable reputation is born, because people don't just respect isolated behaviors, they respect patterns sustained over time. Niccolo Machiavelli already made it clear that the appearance of virtue, when repeated consistently, transforms into real power. Politics guided by reality, not by ideals, shows that reputation is a silent construction, made behind the scenes, in the small decisions that no one sees. And when this construction is solid, it begins to work for you. Even before you open your mouth, people already expect firmness, clarity, control. Better to be feared than loved, at this level, isn't about literal fear. It's about anticipated respect. Because whoever has repeatedly proven that they are unshaken no longer needs to demonstrate it. The end justifies the means. And here, the means is disciplined repetition, because there is no strong reputation built in days, only through real consistency. And the most interesting thing is that this reputation acts as protection. In moments of conflict, doubt, or tension, people tend to give more weight to the opinion of someone who has demonstrated stability over time. Decisions based on real human nature show that the brain trusts history. If someone has always been balanced, they are perceived as balanced until proven otherwise. This creates a larger margin of error, a tolerance that few possess. Calculated use of force here manifests itself in the most sophisticated form. It is no longer necessary to react to everything, because reputation itself neutralizes many attacks before they even happen. Virtù and fortuna form the basis of this construction, the ability to maintain the standard plus enough time for it to be recognized. A clear example: in a professional environment, someone known for remaining calm will rarely be questioned aggressively. People measure their words, they adjust their tone, because they know they are dealing with someone who doesn't engage in emotional games, and this completely changes the dynamic. They cease to be an easy target and become a difficult reference to confront. Now, the most powerful point of all, when consistency becomes identity, it reduces effort. He no longer needs to prepare to remain calm. That's already integrated. His own loyal armies represent this consolidated internal base, which responds automatically under pressure. Constant adaptability becomes continuous evolution, adjusting, refining, improving without losing the essence. And this creates something rare: strategic predictability. People know he will be firm, but they don't know exactly how he will act. And this generates respect and caution at the same time. Because he is not reactive, but he is also not excessively predictable. The appearance of virtue at this stage is no longer just an appearance, it's a consolidated perception. And this perception opens doors, avoids unnecessary conflicts, and positions him at a different level within any environment. Without needing to raise his voice, without needing to prove himself too much, without needing to compete for attention, he simply occupies space. And at that moment, it becomes clear. It wasn't an argument that changed everything. It was the way he came to exist within the confrontations. Now he needs to face an uncomfortable truth. It wasn't a lack of intelligence that made him lose confrontations. It was a lack of control. How many times has he tried to win the argument but lost because of his posture? How many times has he let the other person dictate the pace just because he reacted impulsively? Deep down, he knows. And that's precisely why this knowledge can't remain just an understanding. It needs to become practice. Because politics guided by reality, not by ideals, demands action, it demands that he begin to observe his reactions in everyday life, that he learn to pause before responding, that he train his breathing, his posture, his voice. Small changes, repeated consistently, create giant transformations. The end justifies the means, and here the means is emotional discipline. It's better to be feared than loved, not as intimidation, but as respect earned through firmness. So the question isn't whether this works. The question is he willing to apply it even when it's uncomfortable? And more importantly, how long will he continue reacting like everyone else? How long will he surrender control to any provocation? Because whoever masters their own emotional state masters the game. Decisions based on real human nature show that people follow those who transmit stability, not those who shout the loudest. So from now on, every confrontation becomes an opportunity, a chance to test, adjust, evolve. Virtù and fortuna are there, skill being built and opportunities appearing. His own loyal armies represent this inner strength he is developing, a foundation that doesn't depend on external factors for its sustenance. Constant adaptability comes in as continuous evolution, and little by little, without needing to announce it, without needing to prove it, he begins to be seen differently. But this only happens if he does what most don't do, apply what he learns. So let's make one thing clear to himself. What will be the next situation where he'll test this? In an argument, in a meeting, in a difficult conversation? Will he react as he always has, or will he act like someone who understands the game? Because knowledge without action is an illusion. And if something here resonated with him, if at some point he found himself in these situations, then it's time to take the next step. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, because this is just the beginning. There's still much more about strategy, behavior, and silent power that few people dare to teach, but those who learn completely change how they are seen in the world.